Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Black Astronauts Podcast Room Reviews, where we are going into Westworld Season 2, Episode 4. This is your host, Feek Blurredman, and still on special guest commentary is my lovely wife, AJ.
Hey, y'all.
Yes, indeed. And we are coming to you on behalf of the Black Astronauts Podcast. Black Astronauts Podcast is an adult podcast where we cover pretty much everything. We have the main podcast, which goes into, the hot topics of the week. We have Room and Room Reviews, where we review movies, mostly, superhero and nerd, big tent movies. We review shows. We have HWAP, where the ladies get down and do a lot of things. They also review shows on their end. We do a little bit of everything, and we do it because we have the strong support of fans who have been with us since 2011, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah. It's been going on 8 years. What do you mean BS?
Before Seku.
Oh, before our son, whose name?
I thought you'd catch it. I thought it was kind of cool.
I thought you were just hating.
Never mind,
that's
you
some
missed
stuff
it.
You do.
Keep it going.
That's stuff you do on our show, which I didn't mention, Married to Shade. But we're going to leave that alone for a second. Today we're going to be non-shady to each other so that we can effectively jump into the latest episode of Westworld, Season 2, Episode 4, as I said earlier, the Riddle of the Sphinx. So we're not here to summarize the show. We're here to just kind of respond and review. Generally speaking, your first reaction, what do you make of this past episode, babe?
Where were the samurai? Let's start
That's
there.
a good question. Well, they did that to us. They do that. This isn't their first time hitting you with the cliffhanger.
No, they do it. They do it all the time. But the show is getting so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm looking at the intro in ways I never looked at the intro. I am, I'm trying to think about things in a way that I never really analyzed the show before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's pulling parts.
It's pulling you in.
This is the theme of the season so far for me, and I've said this on every episode, so forgive me as I repeat myself. But this is how you jump the shark. This is how you rev up what's going on in your show without it feeling like the show has lost its mind, a la Game of Thrones season 7.
Yes,
because every episode has built more crazy on top.
Yeah, but you're loving the crazy. Yeah. You're like, give me more.
So let's start with the crazy revelation this season. The biggest revelation I think of the season, which is what is the big secret that Delos is trying to do? They're trying to clone people. They're trying to clone people.
They're trying to clone people. And so now we know that Peter Abernathy, yes, folks, I'm saying it, Peter Abernathy is the head of Delos. It's the same character.
It looks a lot like him. It's why.
It's the same. It's not an accident. There are no coincidences in the show. What we realize is the writers of this show, they are thorough. When they want to complete something, they let you know. We are no longer to believe people are dead unless we see them die. Mm-hmm. Like we know they are thinking through this.
Another major revelation is knowing that the girl is alive, because that was because I predicted that. So Aaron, actually, if you go back and listen to, if you are a Patreon patron, which I did not read out those names, we're gonna come back to that at the end of the episode. You can go back and listen to our review of season 1, where we both talked about the fact that the girl that popped up at the beginning of this episode has to still be alive because we did not see her die. If there's any rule about HBO like drama thrillers, if you don't see them bleed out, if you don't see them go something,
take that last breath,
then they're still alive.
So
I still think freaking what's it called, Baratheon is still
let's
alive.
just sit with that whole thing. That's a whole nother show, literally. So let's just sit with the fact that Peter Abernathy is the head of Delos. Okay. They wouldn't be. They're too intelligent to cast two actors that look
exactly alike.
Identical. Like, like of all the people you could have cast, let's cast these two guys who look identical and expect that people are not going to suspect that the characters have some
So what?
crossover.
So you think Peter Abernathy is being brought out because he has been molded enough to be the Delos guy?
Yes. So I don't know if he's okay. So we know from the show that they're having issues with downloading people's, like, putting people's brain and consciousness into hosts. There's like what do you call it? Some kind of thought plateau or something.
They call it a plateau. Then there's just the reality of, like, so when you're an organ donor, it rejects bodies,
it's like, yes, exactly. So we know that they had several iterations of the guy,
right?
The
30
Delos
years
guy.
worth, damn near.
Yeah. So I think that they created, a host body for him, and we're in the process of doing the whole workup, and abandoned ship with that host, or something happened. I don't know. We're gonna learn, but that particular version of him landed in the park.
So,
and maybe it was an accident, but I think that's why they must get Peter Abernathy out the park, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Like, we hadn't even really seen Peter Abernathy. It can make sense eventually for them to be like, this one old model host, we want to get him out. Makes no sense.
Well, they uploaded something into him earlier at the end of last season. There was a moment where Tessa Thompson, whose character's name we probably should remember at some point in time.
She's Tessa Thompson. It doesn't matter.
Uploaded something into him. But so there's several big revelations. The biggest one to me, actually, now I think about it, is who the real villain and hero of this season is. I got to give shout out to Aaron, because Aaron called this, and then I had to double down with him. I think this episode, it became clear that the actual hero of the story is the man in black. Is it William? Is his name William?
Yes. I think, William is the man in black.
Right.
And he realized the danger.
Yeah, he realized the danger,
what's going on.
Just the problem. He realized he had made a mistake to look at the park the way he looks at it. And then, furthermore, we know that Arnold, a.k.a. Bernard,
has done some sinister
clearly
stuff.
Is still under the control of
it's Ford. So this is my theory. My theory is Ford is not dead. Ford
he's on his way
dead,
back.
But his consciousness, he was a part of this movement to download consciousness. I think the man in black talked about Ford when he met with the head of Delos in that last scene before he chose not to terminate and just to leave him in the little home environment that he was in. I think Ford's consciousness was what Bernard put in his pocket.
That's a strong indication.
He was programmed to bring it somewhere, or he's following steps as designed by Ford. I think he's a pawn in the game, and he is following his storyline.
So, but here's what would have had to have happened for that to be true. Ford needed to know exactly what Delos was planning with the cloning thing.
But why? So Ford, why wouldn't he know? First of all, Ford is like top of the park,
right?
And even though we know from first season that he and Delos were at odds, we also know that he was planning this greater game that, like, he was keeping secret.
Right.
So I think
it's not impossible. It's not impossible. I'm wondering if, so I think it's more likely that Ford that got shot was because the maggots came through.
Yeah, I think he had his. I think he had his
Was
consciousness.
a human body.
I think there's a Ford host. I think maybe we don't even get that this season.
Maybe. It's hard to really say. They've got so many threads going. Then we get the revelation that the girl, who I think you called it first, that this girl is going to be a major character, who started this off at the beginning of last episode in India World. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, in the other park, who landed on the beach.
Right.
So what don't we know? So let's think about that. So she landed on the beach, and we watched the Native American host, not Indian host.
Right.
The Native American host.
Well, no, India, because she's an Indian.
Well, no, that's her part. But
yes.
Like last night, as we watched this in real time, we were all kinds of politically incorrect because we kept saying the Indian. So Native American host. we watched them collect all these humans. We saw it corroborated by a character that they weren't harming anybody.
Right.
And we also heard one of them speak clear English.
Yeah, and he gave him one of them
like one of those
delights,
Riddle,
type. I don't remember what
things.
he said, but it was something like, it's something that you don't want nobody saying in your ear. Like, I don't care if you got the sexiest voice ever. I don't want to hear whatever the hell that dude said in my ear.
And it was so clear. So I think that obviously, I think they were programmed on some other type of code. They have some unique code in them as a part of Ford's game. I initially thought, like you thought, that the girl who was not dead, who came back this episode,
had something to do with
them. Obviously, she didn't have her little pad, so she is not in control of them. But we know now clearly that they are not compromised or acting in conjunction with the rest of the host. Like they're separate somehow.
And clearly it just hit me. Ford had to have known Ford would have ordered Bernard to save the girl. Because she said that Bernard choked her out, chained her up, and gave her protein bars in that one spot. So
Ford would have ordered her death because he ordered her death before.
No. That means Ford ordered her to be alive.
That's what I'm saying. So he would have ordered her death. So we watched Bernard kill somebody for Ford.
Right. And so what you're saying is that clearly he didn't order her death because she's still alive.
Correct. I mean, so clearly, why did a host? So the only thing that I don't understand is why did a host, the girl from the like one of the prostitutes kind of whatever from
Clementine.
the brothel, why did she
drop him off there?
I didn't really understand how she got him, and then
at the end of the last episode, she knocked his ass out, and then she just dragged him there from the battlefield. So so the obvious choice is Ford. There has to be a player on the field doing something that clearly we are not like ready for.
I think you said something interesting. You were like, "Oh man, Dolores is playing her storyline." So we've assumed because she's not working well with the humans, she's not playing nicely with the humans, that she was off storyline.
Right.
But maybe this is her. We know that Bernard spent countless hours with her, similar to how William did with the Delos guy, right? Mm-hmm. The clone that they were trying to do.
Right.
So there's a great possibility that this was just part of some other programming she had in her that, didn't activate until when necessary.
It's so hard to say. This show, you can tell it's being done by one of the Nolans. For those who are not super savvy, Christopher Nolan and his brother, other guy Nolan, Jonathan Nolan, Brandon Nolan, I have no idea. Whatever his name is, they wrote like Inception. That's probably Christopher Nolan's most well-known movie outside of the Batman movies. But he's known for these procedural, cerebral, like densely cryptic, meaning on 5 different levels, movies and shows. And his brother, same thing. And that's what we get here because we're like wandering around. And I apologize to the listeners that were unable to follow us just now as I think about how we must have sounded. We're like wandering around all these spots, and still at play is this concept of humanity and self. And like we have the moment where William comes in to meet with Daddy Delos, and Daddy Delos is going through the motions and doing the same thing he's doing every time, and we see William getting older. And his first time, like the first time he comes in when he's at his youngest, essentially right after or soon after his trip to the park in season 1, he's like excited and exuberant and like anxious to make this happen with Daddy Delos.
And he obviously grows more and more jaded.
Right. The second time he comes in, he's like a little less, into it, and he's starting to question it. He has this moment where he questions. And then the last time, he has a a powerful revelation. You know,
I mean, he realizes the value of life.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like some
so
men
this
maybe,
was this was all about, you know, becoming gods. You know, like no one had to die, but here he is trying to perfect the clone of this guy whose family has died. Because another thing that he had to constantly remind him, he's like, I'm gonna go out and see my wife and let me go out and da-da-da. And he's like, yeah, so this person's dead. I think he tells him,
he's like, your wife
daughter,
is dead,
your
daughter committed suicide, your son overdosed.
And so it's
he'd
like,
be the only one left.
He would be the only one left. So it's, you know, there's this deep metaphor for like the value of life. I mean, the fact that he did the same things over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. There is the frailty and the fleeting nature of life is what brings its value. Right. And that's kind of like what we're learning as the show unfold. And when that is taken away, when there's no boundaries, when the parameters are gone or distorted, like things get crazy.
And that's literally what happens to Daddy Delos. It's like his brain recognizes that the consciousness that he's been given recognizes that it should no longer exist.
Correct.
Because it existed once already.
So it goes dark.
So it literally goes crazy, as you said.
And so this is the other thing. This was a horror film.
Oh, yeah. Let me look up who the director of this was.
This was a horror film. And I'm not even a horror genre like fan like that, but they were really uncomfortable, you know, eerie moments, well shot moments. Right. Like, you know, the colors, like a lot of reds, a lot of blacks, like when Bernard is going in and out of his consciousness, right? Which was hella creepy because you're seeing him in this like real like catatonic, maybe is what is it called, state, you know, executing things. Like this. I mean, it was a brilliantly shot, in my opinion, horror film.
Right.
So you know,
it
was very reminiscent. I don't know if that was brilliant, but it was very reminiscent of The Shining. Not really, you know, but kind of like
it wasn't like jump scare.
No, it was just disturbing.
It was just disturbing imagery, camera angles, long takes on certain moments. Like one of the moments that fucked me up the most was Bernard pausing for a second, looking to his left, and then watching himself going to the cave.
Yeah, it was like some real,
and that was
eerie,
because they hadn't done that before.
No, it was. I mean, this was a different level when it comes to the gore and the eerie, uncanny valley ness to the show. It was just really. This was a good episode.
So here's a situation where nepotism turns out great. So Lisa Joy is really Lisa Joy Nolan, who is the wife.
Keeping the bag in the family.
Right, keeping the bag in the family. The wife of Jonathan Nolan, the younger brother of Christopher Nolan.
Well, they're talented.
Yeah,
She's talented.
Clearly
so
there's
shout out to you, girl, because this was So I'm wondering, like, is this now going to be the tone, or was it the tone of the episode?
I think it was just the tone of the episode, because the last episode was action western. You know what I'm saying?
True.
This one went back to sci-fi.
What do you like better?
Sci-fi.
Because I like this.
This one.
I like this.
The action western was cool, but like, the truth of the matter is, after you've seen fucking Infinity War and shit, you can't just throw action stuff at me and expect me to care. Like, that was the weakest part of last episode. But this episode, watching eyeballs fall to the ground and shit.
Yeah, I mean,
watching the Tool characters.
The host,
the white host. If you've ever just look at the band
them kill
Tool.
Themselves.
But yeah, watch them snap their own necks all calmly because they don't have mouths or faces. They just do the stuff, and they snap their necks after killing all the people. But yeah, so like, but going back to that theme. So then we have Arnold. So Arnold is like in this trifecta of reality. So he's aware of his immaterial existence, but yet he still wants to live.
So crazy.
He is experiencing the past in the present, and he can't tell what's reality or not. but he also isn't real anyway. So it's like, what the fuck is going on?
It's just a glitch in his programming.
It's just brain chunks.
So now what we need to figure out is how long. So we know we're dealing with different timelines.
Right.
But from the moment we meet, so the moment the man in black, right, comes in, how long from there to, I mean, the older man in black, so like coming in to play the game, because I have to go back, but I remember like he got a special invite, right? Like it was something special that brought him to the park, and maybe I'm totally wrong, maybe I'm making that up.
I don't think
but
so.
I think like he came to the park for a specific reason. Maybe this was going to be his last game. Maybe there was some attraction or something. Like I want to believe that there was a draw for him being in the park other than just wanting to come.
So here's a question.
And so, but my thing, but let me finish. Let me say that how long from his entry to the massacre, you know, I mean, or to the girl who came back, to her being missing, to the massacre, to the actual 12 days later, right, which would be the current timeline for this season. Like how long are we talking?
Bro, I do not.
Like if he just left her protein bars, like, because that could be a major glitch in the continuity of the show. If he just left her protein bars and changed her up, like she was perfectly fine, she wasn't gaunt, she wasn't. She
definitely should have had like shit all over.
So it was like, okay, was this just a week? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, so
like,
it's hard.
Like,
it's hard to say. They didn't really give us.
They
played with time the entire time.
That time with the lady he actually ended up killing.
Right.
So that adds some days. So I'm just trying to keep the timeline straight. So I don't know if anybody else is struggling with what the current day progression is.
I don't think that's that important. Been. But what is interesting that I just thought about is, so the Man in Black's in the last episode, his whole arc last season was looking for the
game inside the
game to essentially bring real life to the hosts. He didn't find that, and so I'm theorizing in my head that there must have been a break between him not finding out the maze of some bullshit, and then coming back for the massacre, because it makes sense that in that break is when he would have went down to meet Mr. Delos to tell him it's a wrap. Don't worry about it. You see what I'm saying? Because it makes sense that whole journey would have been for figuring out a way to get Mr. Delos on point. You kind of get my overall.
I kind of get you.
Or something, because otherwise it actually makes it odd that he would either be looking for life in the park, like true humanity in the park, and at the same time canceling Mr. Delos's.
True, there is some kind of disconnect
those things conflict. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just a plot hole.
That makes sense.
It won't be the first time.
Let me ask you, what is his daughter doing there?
That's another good question. So his daughter clearly
doing at the other park. So not even what's her main goal? I get that she's investigating. That maybe she.
I think the daughter. I think the most likely situation is the daughter's there to take her claim. The daughter, I feel like, probably is a big part of. I don't get
that she wants to take over the empire, because you have to remember when we were introduced to her last episode, she was immediately, before we knew who she was immediately suspicious of everything going on, and not like she was very distrusting of the environment. So I think somebody who was there to take what was rightfully hers would be more in the vein of what her uncle was like. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like kind of like, this is my oyster, you know, I can kill host, I can do whatever. Like she wasn't about that life.
But that's what I'm saying. So she clearly came with some people because she knew the people that got shot. She is not there on no bullshit. To me, and she hates her father.
There on some kind of mission,
right? And so to me, the mission that makes the most sense is that she is there. She was there to kind of keep track of what Tessa Thompson's character was trying to get done.
All right, okay, so I agree with that. Saying? She's there to blow up Delos' spot, not get her what's rightfully hers.
Well, blow it.
She's there to get put the pieces of the puzzle together so then she can blow it up.
Well,
not,
I don't,
figuratively speaking.
I don't know if it's blow it up. I think she's probably the person behind Tessa Thompson is what I'm saying. She hates her father. That's been well established. We already have a theme of usurpery.
Tessa is all about trying to get Abernathy out
for her bosses over Delos. You see what I'm saying? So if Delos, we had three power struggles.
So
last
why
season.
would she be trying to get Abernathy out?
Well, we don't until we get Abernathy out. We don't know. This is what I'm saying. So I get your skepticism.
So she could be. I just want to explore.
So
it.
let me tell you. We have three in last season. We had three power struggles. We had Ford versus William versus Tessa Thompson and her people versus Ford in that like triangle, all going against each other. Ford has been taken out. So now, even though William seems to be unaware of all what's going on with Tessa Thompson and her people, actually no, he is aware. He just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't care at the end of the day. And he probably still doesn't, because I don't think he's doing what he's doing now for his company. He just fucks with the game.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, so you know what? You may be right. She could be the puppet master because there's somebody running Delos.
Right.
And it's obviously not the man in black. We know that, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Maybe it's her from the shadows.
But they said Delos wasn't going to come to save them.
And they didn't.
Until they got him out. And so she was already at another park, so that doesn't make sense.
No, I don't.
She was at another park.
What does that have to do with the
We
rescue?
meet her at another park.
We meet her at another park before the massacre happened.
But if she knew... No, we
yes,
meet her
it's
at
before
another...
the massacre happened, because she shot old dude before she fucked him. Yeah, so that
True,
part...
true.
So, oh, dang, you made me lose the train of thought. I can't remember. Let's talk about the man in black in the little Mexican town
with the creepy kid.
with the creepy guy and
the
creepy kid, and how that's kind of his face turn. That's where it starts to become clear. That combined with the fact that he clearly wasn't about this bullshit, the bullshit that's going on in the background, kind of shows that despite Williams' clearly problematic veneer and his ultra willingness to sacrifice the other the non-human people of Westworld, because you kind of got to say that at this point, the host, he showed himself to be not without, I don't know, like a moral standing, even though he did.
It was interesting that they made his character do the pit, like do what
the
do you call
pivot.
it, heel
The
turn,
face
or face turn, in a loop. So
Right.
we had been in that situation.
Right. That's when he officially
with
became
all
a
those
bastard to
things
us.
happening, and yeah, we saw him, and that's when we let him go. We were like, okay, nah, we don't mess with you.
Right.
You're not the good guy. And so we see him come back to one of his very first scenes in that loop, but handle it totally different was interesting.
I love all the little details, like the guy, like he's clearly about this game, but he's not a gamer, because if you're playing, this is always the running joke is this is his game plus, his new game plus, which is, for those who are not super familiar with gaming concepts, when you beat a game, most modern games, they'll give you a new game plus, which means you play the game again, but it's little differences, or it's harder, or some extra shit going on. And so as soon as he saw, like, he came and sat down and started cleaning his gun. See, if I was him, I'd have cleaned that gun on the horse on the way there. I'd have had that shit ready as soon as I sat down, because too much shit is different. And lo and behold, here come the crazy Confederates.
I don't think we can knock him, because when he was ready to take people out, he was taking them out.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? He was eye spying. He was looking at the field. He was like surveying who was where. And he definitely did the job. So it'll be interesting to see now that he's run into his daughter, to see what that dialogue is. I have a feeling we won't get it next episode. I have a feeling we'll be back with Thandie Newton, or I'm sorry, Maeve,
and see what's going on
with
with
the
Samurai, because you can't just leave that cliffhanger.
You cannot leave it. And I am excited to explore Samurai World.
Right? Yeah.
I want to see what that's about.
I want to just. Damn it, I'm clearly getting tired because I'm forgetting things I want to talk about. Oh, I love the little moment where the creepy kid gives him the just a good old no, Whitey, we ain't cool comment when she's like, one good deed doesn't erase a lifetime of fuckery. Basically, is what she said to him right there. And he kept it 100. He's like, I'm not doing anything good. I'm playing the game. Because he needs to play as some sort of hero in order to get whatever it is he's trying to make happen.
I have no idea. There's so many. So as much as we figured out, as much as we've thought about the show and we've dissected these episodes,
we have nothing.
We have no idea what this weapon that Dolores has talked about. We have no idea why she necessarily changed her name and now goes by Wyatt.
We don't really
and the
know
significance
what side Bernard's
significance
on.
of that. We have no idea what side he's on. I don't know if that maze is still relevant, but we still have no idea what that means. There's so many things we don't know.
Right. And
we're hooked.
I hope, which is why we're hooked, but, I just hope it doesn't shit the pants. Because they got a lot of balls in the air. They're juggling. Safe. I feel strongly. I feel like they've got it on lock. But there's it's tough to keep this type of quality going. Speaking of keeping quality going, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. But first, I do want to give that shout out to our Patreon patrons. I pulled up the list and somehow got away from it, partially again because a nigga is tired. Real quick shout out to our Patreon patrons that support the shows: Chad Drexy, Black Sean, Nutella is Life, Sadita H, Justin C from I Do It for Hip Hop Podcast, DeAndre, Veggie Vixen, Ronald B, V Williams, Feeks Beard, Peter H, Pasto Chene, Felt 5, excuse me, Deloya, Shlonda W, Wanga, Cameron B, Mr. Brent, Simo, Ashley G, Chonilla, Knowledge, Dre, The Disrespectful One, MJ, Donald, Ophelia Ono, Charlie Snowflake, Angela D, Teddy Funk, Miss My Fluffy Puffs, DJ Food and Drink, Four Wash Folks, Ariana, Nikki M, Devo G, Willis Dickfit, Shauna E, Jordan H, Pam M, and Scrum Master Flash. We appreciate all of y'all showing support for the show. You can find us at Black Astronauts Podcast on Twitter. You can find blackastronics.podcast.com for the website. You can check out my blog I wrote up there last week about Childish Gambino, which we will finally maybe get into tomorrow night. Hopefully. On Married to Shade. I don't
Fingers
know.
Crossed.
Niggas is tired right now, so hopefully we'll have energy tomorrow. Check out everything coming out this week. We always have a show in the middle of the week and a show on Thursday or Friday to drop, plus bonus stuff like this, which will be coming out. Well, you know if you're listening to it, it'll be coming out at that point in time. That's pretty much it. This is Feek Blurman. Peace.
Peace.